Ooh, pretty good. Okay, we'll call the meetings to order for the Sisal Valley Fire Rescue Western Ambulance District. And can we go ahead and have do the first roll call, please?
Director Yesney?
Here.
Director Russell? Yes. Director Farnsworth?
Here.
Director Webb?
Here.
Director Murphy?
Here.
Director Polisi?
Here.
Director Hickson?
Here.
Director Burns?
Yes.
Director Green? Director Spade?
Want to do the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, it shows approval of the agenda. Are there any, there's no changes, or anybody have any requested change in the agendas? Move to approve. Okay. Second? We really don't need to. I think we got it. Unless we can change it. We'll skip. Is that okay? Says approve the agenda. Okay, we'll do it.
I'll second.
There's a second? On the roll call vote on the agenda?
Director Yesney?
Yes.
Director Russell? Yes. Director Farnsworth?
Yes.
Director Webb?
Yes.
Director Murphy?
Yes.
Anybody have any changes, additions, suggestions to the agenda? No. On our side? Okay, all those vote, well, can I get an approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to do something different than you. No roll call here. Those opposed? All right. The agenda has passed.
Okay, I don't see anybody here from the public, but anybody else wish to address the boards jointly? Okay. We move past the public comment. Then you want to do approval of the minutes, or?
Did everyone have a chance to read the minutes?
Yes, I did. I have no questions, sir.
Any questions, concerns? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Minutes are approved.
Okay, Western Ambulance District. Everybody have a chance to review the minutes? Any corrections or comments?
Move to approve the minutes as published.
Okay, Director Russell's move for approval. I'll second. Farnsworth, first and second. Roll call vote, please.
Director Yesney?
Yes.
Director Russell? Yes. Director Farnsworth?
Yes.
Director Webb?
Yes.
Director Murphy?
Yes.
All right, we'll move into review of monthly financial statements.
Okay.
I don't really have anything to report on the financial statements. Everything's looking good. 2 months in, we should be right around 17% for expenses. And I did want to mention that, just a follow-up from the August meeting on the transaction list for both districts, we now have explanations for any of the bank transfers per Director Webb's request. Also, in front of you, you do have the copies of the fiscal year budget. I've given each of you a hard copy of both districts. We also have them in electronic format on the website and in your onboard packet or onboard software. If you do not want to have a hard copy, you may leave it on the table and I will use it for budget committee members. And we still continue to prepare for the auditors. They plan on being here. We don't have a date set, but they usually come for their field visit in October. So the admin staff has been working to send them the documents that they require to get that set up. I'd be happy to answer any questions on the financials if you have them.
Tina, on Western Land Ambulance, we have an account, the labeled clearing account, 2995, that shows 162,000 in. What
So
is that?
how that works, that's for the payroll.
Okay.
So when payroll comes in, we book it to last month, but payday is the 5th of the next month.
So does that move into the clearing account out of wages?
It does
payroll
exactly,
line items?
yes. So we just book it into that clearing account, and then when the amount actually hits the bank on the 5th of the month, that gets cleared out.
That's fine.
Is that kind of like just accrued, is it like accruing the payroll then?
Right, well, we want to book a payroll, I have to book, the journal entry has to have the debits and the credits,
Right.
to balance. So it's just a way of booking the payroll for the month it occurred.
Yeah. Looks like accrued.
Yes.
I guess I have one question on page 17. I think it's on line 6,700, facilities and equipment for almost approximately $27,500. And is that like a repair? Does anybody know? It seems very high.
What page was that?
On page 17, account 6,700.
I think that's the donation of the bathroom.
Okay, so that's materials and supplies to finish that.
And labor.
Okay, that makes sense.
And do we include the billing and collections in this portion of the report, or is that later on?
The,
The
Oh,
pay,
review.
the reviewing of
I think that's
collections?
usually advance.
Advance.
But we can,
Well, I just was curious. No, I'm just looking at that part of the report and combining with the life med account. Just looking at the life med write-off for the last 12 months. Now, it doesn't include a dollar amount for August, so I think we're just lagging a little bit behind.
yes.
But it shows 114,000 in write-offs tied to the life med account, which is not inconsistent with what our expectations were based upon the dollars that we charge. So see how that washes out. But it might be good to have 1 month before that on that report so we can see an actual 12-month balance of what actually was written on.
And then expenses have been running about 50,000, I think that's what we budgeted, so.
Okay.
so once again, that was on the, what report are you looking at?
I was looking at the one from our billing agency and then just comparing it to the totals that we brought in on life med last year.
So is that month-end summary?
Yeah, they show a fire med, they listed as fire med write-off, 119 or 114.
It's like on page 23.
Yeah, and I was just going back to the life med account itself and seeing last year's income actually, and the net operating income was 105, so we were running a deficit of $10,000, $12,000.
And we get closer to the budget time, we were planning on coming with a proposal to raise the life med subscription amount. And then we'll have all that, but it's costing us,
That's a little bit of money.
yeah.
Is it possible to show that expense as a P&L for life med, rather than to have to go hunt for the number? Could we just show that as an expense?
Let me look into that.
Dean, on those reports, could I ask you to look into one more thing, or maybe you know the answer on the same page, 23 of 51, and maybe the board understands this differently or can help, but I think under the annual collections on that page, you got the charges, which are the billings. It starts with that column. And you have payments, fireman write-off, disallowed, uncollected, and then pending. And I think pending is what's still out there in accounts receivable. But this pending column never ties to the AR report. So it shows 792,000, and it is for only 12 months, so there could be, I don't know, maybe it's just not complete, but the actual accounts receivable at the end of the month show up as 947,000. So I guess one thing I was wondering is why there's a difference in that report in the pending, which I think is accounts receivable, but that was not collected, not written off. Any other questions on the financials?
Either of you have any questions on the financials?
No.
I just had just one question. Sorry, I just had it when I scrolled my information. It was under. Sorry. Oh, there we go. I was just, it was page 9, under fire prevention. It was $6,068.10. And I was just curious as to what that was, and I noticed this we've reached almost a quarter of our budget on that. Is that about right?
October is our fire prevention week, and so it's front loaded a lot of that.
Gotcha.
So it should be much less the rest of the year.
Anything else?
No. Okay.
Make a motion to approve the budget.
Second.
The expenses. Ratify, that's what it was. Make a motion to ratify the bills and an expense of $184,781.98.
Second.
Yes.
Remember that 98 cents. That's mine. All right.
Okay, and we have to approve the transaction list on page 18 and 19. Any questions on the transactions?
I had a question about the Lane County elections expense.
So the elections take place in May, but we don't get billed until June.
What do they bill us for?
Each seat costs about $1,000. So that's the fees that we get from Lane County to get you on the ballot, to get who's ever running for a seat on the ballot and process the voting.
Will Cindy and John have to pay that?
I got the credit card, I'm good.
I'll just call Crystal.
There you go.
I move that we approve the transaction.
Oh, okay. I do have just two more questions. So we have a motion. Let's go ahead and get a second, and I'll ask.
I'll second that, I've got a question as well.
Okay. And
There's
so,
a silence there, bro.
yeah, that's good. And we can have further discussion, so that's good. Go ahead, Mike.
My question is, Kathy Taylor, is she billing on an hourly basis as called, so she has a,
Yes.
okay.
And I had two questions. One, what is image trend?
Image Trend is the reporting and patient care software. We're currently working together to put that, so
Okay.
you're going to see a little bit higher there and it's going to balance out.
Okay.
That will be reimbursed by SVFR, some of that, because there is effort to combine.
Yeah, both agencies are going to the same reporting software. Western Lane was already on that, so to add SVFR cost that much. Yes, yeah.
Got it. Okay. Then the Carl Sports endoscopy, is that what we kind of talked about, replacing all those
Video
radioscopes? Yeah.
Not
Okay.
all of them, but just a couple.
Okay.
They're expensive.
Or they're expensive.
Yes.
Okay.
They're life-saving.
Yes, they are. Okay. Any other questions on the transactions? All right, we've had a first and a second. Let's go ahead and have a roll call for approval of the transactions.
Director Yesney?
Yes.
Director Russell?
Yes.
Director Farnsworth?
Yes.
Director Wynn?
Yes.
Director Murphy?
Yes.
Okay, so we are going to move to new business and the IGA committee report. The IGA committee met yesterday. We give a quick overview overview of the meeting. We talked about the next steps to create the third entity and the procedure for selection of authority board members. So as you might recall, 2 board members from each agency would be on the new third entity. And the recommendation, we talked about this, and not begin to sound self-serving, but we would recommend the members of the IGA committee were all willing, if nominated by our board as elected, to serve and continue the startup work on this new entity, with the idea that we're starting October 1st, and the terms really end June 30th. There's a new set of board members that are put in place in July, that will be put in place in July next year. And we'd be willing to continue that on, get the startup, keep the momentum going, get the startup going. And then we recommended that in the document we approved for the new entity is each member of the board for the new entity would serve, it serves 1 year, and then there's 3 elections. And so in July, what we thought would be a good idea, but we don't have to address it until July, would be to have at least 1 new member from each entity that wasn't on that board currently, and 1 member stay to continue the continuity, but bring in new members every year for the 1-year term, and then try and keep 1 on that had been on before, and get everybody rolled through the entity. So that's kind of what we talked about, and that was the recommendation from the IGA committee on the procedure for selection and authority of board members.
There are a couple of reasons for that when we talked about it. One was, we don't want to have 4 new people all at the same time. It'd be kind of like getting 5 new board members. I mean, there's a reason why we do 2 and 3 instead of 5. And so if we have the same, this essentially as the IGA committee sunsets, the same 4 would transition into the new board or committee, the Welfare Committee, and then go from October through July. And then in July we would have 2 new people, and then 2 current people continue on. So every year you get 2 new people, and you have another 2 people who are continuing through, just for that consistency.
And I think the other part of the recommendation, maybe you're going to bring this up, is that WLAD board meetings would be conducted at the same time as these meetings.
Right.
So there's going to be full transparency. We're all going to be sitting here anyway. So.
Yes. I don't know if we wrote that in the document. It's in the document. We did approve. Yeah, thanks for that, Larry. We talked about financials a little bit, and Dina, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said we really don't need to do anything with the budgets to get this started.
Not at this time.
Yeah, we need to do something towards the end of the year, possibly.
Both budgets were adopted with the IGA cost, and so it's the new authority is similar to the IGA costs. And I think once we get into spring, we can see how that's tracking. If we need to transfer any money out of contingency, we can address it at that time.
Yeah, Dina also recommended that there's each of our current entities are going to support the authority, that there be a one-time transfer of the dollars after the tax revenues come in November, that we don't do a monthly payment, we just do it all in one big lump sum, transfer the money into the authority, so we don't have to track that every month to take care of that transfer.
I have transferred some money already, just a small amount, just for some setup costs. And we will have to transfer probably $35,000 from each district to cover the November 5th payroll. And then after that, the rest of it, once we get the tax revenue, we will get the rest of the money in.
And we talked about SOPs, job descriptions. SOPs are actually included in our board packet, a lot of those that would be adopted. I don't think we have to take any action on that tonight. They're just listed for what the entity, the third entity, would be approving. as far as standard operating procedures, job descriptions would carry over. I don't remember that we talked about modification or, the charter. We decided really we don't need a charter. It's an entity. It's got its own document that states what its purpose is and what its authorities are, which is what a charter does. Usually a charter is for a committee, but there are some documents in our charter that the committee feels would be some line items in the charter on what we're trying to accomplish with the IG that we think should carry over to the authority, like having a measurable ways to measure the effectiveness of the third entities. The chief provided some potential organization charts that might even consolidate some positions. And we talked about assets going into the authority, the third entity. And one thing we talked about was Matt's having a new vehicle that we paid for that's being delivered pretty soon. And chief may be getting, if the fire approves the new vehicle, maybe getting a new vehicle of like value. The fire would pay for maybe those vehicles, and Jim's vehicle would go into the authority. Those three, because those are assets that support the administration, people that are in there. And WLAD has purchased one new vehicle, the fire would purchase one new vehicle. Jim's vehicle, if it got replaced, then it would be split 50-50 between the two entities, putting the money in for a replacement vehicle. But basically, no assets would go in when we start in October. No assets, all the assets will remain in fire and the ambulance.
Well, I guess you guys aren't an asset to EMS, are you? The assets are good.
Oh, John. They are definitely assets, yes, but not fixed assets. And that's it. Do any of the, Dan or Larry, do you have anything to add to that we went over?
No, I just think that the committee has done good work, and we're ready for our committee to sunset. But with the new WLEFA board, at least at the beginning, it's pretty much for the sake of staff to make sure that we stay the course, especially in the first year as we transition. After that, none of us has a particular burning desire to continue to serve in that role, just the first year to get it going. And so I think our recommendation is that we continue with the 4 members that we have, and then we hope that others will be interested in serving and that we can do the staggered terms so that we always have somebody who can say, yeah, we've got this course and this is how we did it, and the reason we did it, so that we're not working from a blank slate.
So do you want a motion to appoint the board members?
Do we, and that's another question I was going to ask, do we need 2 motions or just one? Each one?
Yeah, and I think, that being said, I think if somebody wants to nominate somebody else, we can do that. So we wanted to open it up for everybody.
Well, I would nominate Rick Guesting and Larry Farnsworth to serve on the
Second.
committee.
First and second, any discussion further? Okay. We'll take a roll call vote, please.
Director Yasny?
Yes.
Director Russell?
Yes.
Director Farnsworth?
Yes.
Director Webb?
Yes.
Director Murphy?
Yes.
So on this side, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a lot of questions that Rick brought up. You said, you indicated, Rick, there's 4 members on the committee, and you indicated elections.
No, I probably misspoke. Appointments.
You said elections.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Larry just mentioned as far as shooting people in that are already on the board in the 4 positions. Because I find it would be very interesting that, let's say, to the point, here you've got, what, 2 more years on the board? That he gets elected a year from now, and then he's off the board unless he chooses. I think that is very, because then what if he doesn't get elected, then that year's period of time is kind of a waste type of thing. So maybe getting people in who have that 4-year term
Right.
that you can put them in, and Larry brought up, funnel them in to they at least get 2 years out of it versus 1 year. Because I was very confused when you said elected, that we're going to sit here and do an election, which is going to, then somebody on your board or this board is never going to get into this committee.
Well, I mean, essentially the way it works is it's not an election, so to speak, it's people are appointed, however, we take nominations. So you say, well, I'd like to nominate, Jim, and then eventually, we appoint someone from that group. We don't have to do an election, so to speak.
Because I know other bodies, they just funnel in as to their terms.
Right.
And if they don't want to, then that's fine, it goes to the next person. But everybody has a fair shot that they're not necessarily have an election that you run into, lack of a better word, politics.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and so the point you bring up is a good one. We kind of talked about that. I probably didn't explain it very well, but the document, what we approved as far as the third entity states that the members from the 2 entities that are in the authority,
The IGA.
the IGA, what I call it, or the authority, only have a 1-year term. That's the way it's set up. And then we thought, wow, if they all disperse, you have all new members, that could be a problem. So what we're recommending, I guess, is each year in July, we're gonna appoint 4 people, 2 from each entity.
And that would be, in some ways, I agree with you, because you don't want to get 4 people who've been on it for a year, and then all of a sudden wipe out all their work and get it into the debt. There has to be maybe to the point, 2 people from this board, 2 people from that board, and then in the year's period of time, 2 go off, 2 come in, but
Correct.
one, pardon the pun, gray hair person is going to be on each one.
Exactly, and that's what I was trying to say. I probably didn't explain it very well, but
Sorry.
the way it's set up, we don't have staggered terms in the document, but we're recommending that we do our own staggering by, having one person stay on for 2 years if possible. And if they don't get elected,
I think we're overthinking this by saying that we have to have an old member come on with a new member. Your board meetings are going to be held at the same time. Everybody in the room is going to have the same knowledge of the authority, so I don't think it matters which board member is on there.
Yeah, that's probably
Right.
true. And that's what it's set up.
But I think it's a good idea if, like Alan suggests, if your board is sitting there and you need to appoint 2 people, you might look amongst yourself and say, well, Ned's got a year to go, but Jim's got 2. So those would be 2 great choices. Or, Alan's got 2 years to go, he can be the first choice, and Ned's only got a year, so he'll finish out this year. You could have that discussion. You don't need to renew that discussion each year as you pick the 2.
Well, what truly was the word elections.
Right.
Yeah, I got the impression.
Yeah.
Well, quit
We
saying
don't have
it.
any. I'm sorry.
Quit saying it then.
Which one is that?
So as part of the original recommendation, when we talked about the other night, was that we felt it would be good to have the initial 4 who had started with the IGA, at least for this first 7 months, it's not even quite a year, October to June, or July 1st, continue on for this first transitional period from the end of the IGA committee to the new authority. So which would mean, in this case, would be Ron and I continuing on along with Rick and Larry. And then come July, then we would have new appointments. But I will need 2 of my other board members to nominate 2 people, I don't know who they could be, to the board, to the authority.
One more time? I'm still trying to gather this.
I know. You want me to make a motion?
Yeah, Is there a motion just to keep the two that are currently to go into July of 2020, correct?
Correct.
I make that motion that we continue with the two that are currently serving.
Okay, Ron Green and myself
Thank you.
continue on into the authority. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote on
You have a second?
that. No, second. You're my second.
Yeah, I'll second. You're waiting really pushing her. Yeah, quite.
Director Lacy?
Yes.
Director Hickson?
Yes.
Director Burns?
Yes. And Abbott.
And you want to take item 7? Oh, I can do it all.
Appointing the officers.
So we have appointment from the 4 members under the entity, the new authority. We need to, I think from amongst the 3 of us that are here, appoint officers, a president, a vice president, and a secretary treasurer.
You need to do that at your first board meeting, not at this one.
Yeah, I was thinking we should
Okay,
do that.
We are formed yet, till October.
Seems like a weird place to do it.
And we were gonna have a special meeting, right?
Yes, we're gonna have to,
Right.
because we still are a board until October, right?
So that's number 8.
That's number what?
Number 8 on the agenda.
Right.
We did.
Yeah, mine only goes to 4.
So we should add appointment of officers to number 8.
No, we will add appointment of officers to the agenda at the special meeting that you.
Oh, it says schedule special meeting, so that will be at that meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Do we have that special meeting scheduled yet?
I thought we agreed on a date.
We agreed on October 9th at 3 p.m.
October 9th, 3 p.m.?
Yes.
Thank you.
So that takes care of it, right?
Right, just to let you know that we put the copies of these resolutions in your board packets, just so you can see them, knowing that the authority board would not be able to take action on them tonight and would need to do so after October 1st. So that's the reason they're in the board packet, is just so you see them, and that's what we need to do.
All right. I take new business for SVFR. So new business for SVFR. I just read through this. I thought this was great about the extrication equipment.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing. That's
It's just, we're just trying for that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure it was in there, so in case we do get it, I can spend the money.
yeah. No,
What is
read
it?
through that.
Extrication equipment?
Yeah, but I mean, who is Firehouse Subway? What's that about?
It's a restaurant?
Firehouse
It's a
Subway.
restaurant.
Firehouse Subway is a chain of restaurants that is kind of famous for they do a lot of grants for rural fire departments for extrication equipment and jackets, stuff you need.
Cool.
We need some extrication equipment pretty bad, so if I get a chance to get some on a grant, I'm gonna go for it.
And this is battery operated, as opposed to the system that we have now, hydraulic.
So it's just like the Subway restaurant that's across the street?
No,
It's similar.
It's similar.
Firehouse subs.
It's called Firehouse Subs, like I'm not seeing it.
the closest Firehouse Sub is gonna be right by the Cabela's in Hillsborough. It's called Firehouse Subway is the official name. It's called Firehouse Subs. They are in no way affiliated with the Subway chain of restaurants.
I was gonna say that's something first.
They're very supportive of fire departments.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great.
So we get a motion to approve the submission to the grant application for Firehouse Subway Restaurant.
Make a motion that we go ahead and accept the grant application for education equipment.
Second.
All right, so motion
Can we
is
discuss
approved.
this again?
Okay, so that got passed then?
What's that?
We're good with that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can move into staff reports. Chief, anything?
Yes.
Great.
So right now, SVFR has an attorney, Christy Monson. Western Lane does not. The attorney has retired, Jeff Matthews. If we had any issues, we just go with the firm and they would help us. Western Lane Fire and EMS Authority does not have an attorney appointed for them. So my recommendation, staff recommendation, is that we use Christy Monson for all three agencies. And then the only issue with that, and she has agreed that she could do that, if things turn south and there's issues between the various groups, various agencies, we could not use her or her law firm as attorneys. We would have to go out to different law firms. I'm confident that's not going to happen, but that is an issue that we would have to agree.
Think for yourself, we won't need an attorney.
Well, exactly. So that would be my recommendation to the board, certainly input. We can go out for an RFP, we can talk to other agencies. Christy knows SVFR, she knows the authority, she helped us put it all together. And then it's just adding her on to, for Western Lane.
Do we get a group discount?
I could certainly ask. That would be nice, I doubt it.
So currently with SVFR,
Yes,
and do you need approval or
I would like to have approval to
appoint
boards to do
Western
that.
Lane?
Yes.
Okay, discussion?
Refresh my memory, what has Christy done for us in the past? What kind of activity has she done for us?
She was the attorney that helped us develop the IGA.
Right.
That's her template. She has disciplinary action. She was the attorney that we've used. This is all on the SVFR side. What else have we used her for? Mainly for, I think, currently it's been the authority.
She's not been used for labor negotiations or anything.
No, that was Diana Moffett, the same group,
Right.
same law firm, but no, she was involved with that.
Christie is known for her public entity work and well known, quite good at it.
I've been very pleased with what she's done for us.
Was she the one that helped write your job description?
That I don't know. If it was, I'll talk to her about it.
You weren't here.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was her.
I believe Chief Abel did work with her.
Yes, because I remember Chief saying Christie a lot.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Christy Monson as our agency attorney.
Okay. We have a first
I'll second.
and a second. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Director Yesney,
Yes.
Director Russell,
Yes.
Director Farnsworth,
Yes.
Director Webb,
Yes.
Director Murphy.
Yes.
And then we'll have the authority.
At the first meeting,
Afterward, yes.
Perfect.
So I've been working the last month or so, working on some budget forecasts, and I know some of the directors have seen those forecasts. I'm pretty impressed with how it turned out in the spreadsheets, and it's, I think, very informative, and I encourage any director that would like to see those, is just to drop by. I don't know if we're ready for a public formal presentation of those. Could at any time, but I'd like the directors to see what we're seeing as far as budget forecasting. And you can drop by, or you can call and get put on my calendar, but I would love to show the directors what we're looking at for the next 10 years.
I was going to go about the trend lines.
Yes. It's much fancier now. More colors. And I sent out an email, I think this past week, about, if you remember, for this year's budget, we talked to the union about possibly going to a cheaper healthcare option. Right now, we're at the most expensive one for both agencies. This was right before we needed to send in our renewal acceptance, and there wasn't a whole lot of time for the union to discuss the impact. It had to be bargained. But we did agree at that time that the union would get together with the districts and talk about, are there some options for lowering our healthcare costs? And they just reminded me that we agreed to do that. And so I sent the email out to see if there's anybody that would like to participate in that. I don't know how far we're going to go. Labor negotiations are coming up, and we'll be talking about that. But I think if we can come to an agreement where we save money, I think it would be a good thing to do. And Director Farnsworth has asked to be present during those discussions. Again, I'm not sure if we're going to come out with an agreement, but at least have some feeling on how they're willing to help us with some of the healthcare costs. But if anybody else would like to be part of that, just let me know. Yes. So I don't think we'd have more than two from
Not
this.
from
Yeah.
John, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. So Director Murphy and Director Foreman. Yes. So if anybody from Fireside would like to, again, we'll keep you up to date, of course, on everything that happens.
Is there a date?
Not yet. No, we have not. I told the union I talked to the boys first, see what if they tell me. And I wanted to talk to our attorney just to get some input. He said, go for it. So yesterday, Director Esty raised this. We talked about replacing the Durango, and it's definitely time to do that. And as he said, Western Lane just purchased the new vehicle, a replacement vehicle for Chief House. This would be a replacement vehicle for myself, and the thought was that this would be paid for by SVFR, and that future apparatus purchases or capital purchases for the authority could be split 50-50. It's however the boards decide to do that. We thought at this point it makes sense that this will come out. It has been budgeted for in the apparatus replacement plan for SVFR, and they would bear the cost for that. It would be a similar price, what we've seen, maybe a little bit cheaper than what it was a couple months ago for Matt's vehicle. But what I'd like to do is next month come with you with an actual final quote, and then you can have final approval or further discussion on that.
And this is through Johnson?
Yes, it would be. Yeah. It's government pricing. It's a first responder design type of vehicle. So it comes pre-wired and for lights and sirens and radios.
U.S. government?
I'm dead. It'd be a Ford, so we're building Fords now.
Oh, boy.
So we've talked about this. I just wanted to mention a few things about PERS. We've talked about going for that 25% state match. We did put in the request from SVFR. We were accepted. Turned out we did not need to rush on the first day. Out of $100 million available, there are still $85 million available for matching. So my concern that Western Lane was going to be left out is probably not a valid concern. And we talked, Tina and I talked to the LCOG lady today. That's a PERS expert. I guess she used to be she was
legal
she was
PERS.
Yeah, she was legal representative for PERS. She knows PERS, and I got to ask her a lot of questions this afternoon. She's coming October 24th to the board meeting, and I hope we're going to hopefully all the employees that are interested in PERS, which I don't know whether that would be everybody, but they can come as well. And she's willing to stay as long as possible to answer any questions. We're thinking we may start the meeting a little early, maybe a half hour earlier, just because I think there could be a lot of questions, not just from the board, but the discussion we had today was very insightful. I think I sort of understand what they're doing. I mean, I can't justify what they're doing, but I understand what they're doing.
So she'll make a presentation and then take questions.
She has about 20 minutes or 15, 20 minutes. PowerPoint, yeah.
We probably need 40 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
So go start at 5.
Yeah.
And go 5 o'clock and stuff.
Absolutely. She presented to the library, and it was very well received. And so we reached out to her, and she's more than willing to come out and talk to us.
So we could make an invitation to all the employees that can come, that they certainly want to.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's going to be well attended, at least for that part. And then, so if we do it early, first part of the meeting, people want to leave, they can leave after that.
So we're going to start at 5 then?
If that works for everybody.
Start at 5.
send out an email for everyone's.
Would it have to be part of the actual meeting, or could we have like just a presentation before? I don't know, can you make it at 5?
What, is it a Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursday's for Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably want to make that a work session.
That could be a work session.
I don't know how that changes.
Well, you're not going to be taking any action.
Okay.
Action minutes.
Just asking questions.
Does that have to be published?
That's great, thanks for doing that, Shane.
Can I ask you questions like,
Because we're all going to.
why isn't this a PERS, like unfunded liability, why isn't it a PERS problem versus an agency problem? She explained it, how no, each agency has their own unfunded liability. That applies to their retirees, so that was really interesting. And she said it was the most complicated retirement system probably in the US.
Oh, that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
The Oregon PERS problem, they cover the New York Times.
Yes.
So all the way out to New York, they decided to write about us.
It's funny on their website, I was reading that, I don't know, 10 years ago, they got an award for being the best pension plan
Yeah.
in the US. And how times have changed, yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about being a cautionary tale for the rest of the country.
Yeah, exactly. And just one last thing, we're going to try something new with trying to get information out to all the employees, volunteers. I call it a brown bag seminar for lack of a better word, but the last Monday of each month at noon, we're going to meet here in this room and talk about whatever topics that we come up with. We're starting next Monday. It's going to be on Western Lake Fire and EMS Authority. What the authority is, how it's going to impact the employees. There's going to be little impact, but I think there's some question out there. And again, this is just another opportunity to get information out there. And hopefully every month we'll have a different topic. Senior staff can present. I think Dino, of course, will be presenting on the budget at some point. How we look at that.
Good.
And we can even do budget forecasting. I was going to do it on Monday, but I thought I'd wait until I get all the directors to go through the spreadsheet first.
And this would be open to whom specifically?
Everybody.
Public?
Yeah, the public would be okay. We're specifically inviting firefighters and paramedics and EMTs.
Right.
But yeah, I have no problems with the public coming as well. It'd be informal. We're going to try and offer, we'll have cookies, bring your own lunch if you like, but cookies and maybe water or soda or something. But then, of course, directors are welcome to your people.
Chief, the board members showed up when we have a public meeting.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, not
If
unless
you
you
show up
discuss
for quorum.
anything. If you don't discuss anything.
Just come for education.
And you can show
Yeah.
up.
Gotta keep your mouth shut. Gotta keep your mouth shut.
We'll sit down.
Chief, will you also be putting that on the message board out there? Just so.
I hadn't thought about that, but we certainly could.
I mean, that's a really good, it's an eye catcher. Hey, come and join us.
Yeah. I mean, I don't anticipate they'll be long, 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, certainly less than an hour. But yeah, just to talk about whatever the topics. I mean, it's mainly for the volunteers and employees, but
Right.
citizens had a question too. Okay. Like we talk about, levy rates and stuff like that. So
Maybe we could draw in new volunteers too, you never know.
learn about the fire department, yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely. So, that's all I had.
Great.
Now we go.
Oh, now it
Are you ready, Jim?
You need some water, Jim?
No, we should go, I gotta go. All right, so Chief House and I, as discussed in the last couple meetings, he thinks I talk too much. I don't think he talks enough, so we've combined the operations chief's report. It just makes sense. We're essentially mirroring each other. And it's a little less data that gets kind of piled on both the boards. If there's any, by the way, if there's any additional data or any additional tracking or information that you would like, please let us know and we'll get it in the report and get it back up to that 51 pages that we normally do. We're working with our staff to try and get their reports a little more direct as well. If we look at the call volumes, EMS side, total call volume, they were up by 33. We were down by 2 on the fire side, but we're still climbing. Of those calls, 47 were both agencies. There's responding. Fire year-to-date versus EMS year-to-date, we are both, climbing pretty quickly. On the fire side, I checked with Image Trend before I came up to the meeting. We're actually at 634, so that's a record, and we're not even close to the end of the year yet. Any questions on reporting or there? You will see the MIH visits are down. That's because Wendy did take a very well-needed vacation, so that's the only reason those visits are down for last month.
It seems like public assistance calls are up. I see those a lot more when I get the report.
The public assists are up or down? They are coming back up. We're getting into the season where people think that we got a little bit of rain so that they can have a fire, and we include those small nuisance things as good intent calls. We go out, inform them of the burning policy, ask them to put it out or put it out for them. We're working really hard with Captain Miller and doing some public education, having a lot of things up. So burning, although we're in the low, we are still having a burn ban on. You cannot burn.
Right. Is that lift assist too, or is that?
Lift assist also come in as that.
That's
A lot of us.
Quick question, on the MIA report, there's a sum of patients readmitted to the hospital line, but there's no data in it. I don't know if that's a zero intentionally, or if we're looking to get data as to how many go back, or do we have a way to track that yet?
I don't know.
Okay.
I will have Matt and get back to that. I don't think there was a lot of readmissions, but at the same time, I can't tell you for
I
certain.
think that's the goal of the program, is to reduce that number, but I don't know if we actually have a number that we can track for the net or not. So we got to know.
And we don't have, we only have 2 years of data. It's really hard to base things on a 2-year data set, even if we're going month to month. But I will check with Chief House on that and have him report back.
I think we are tracking that. It's very important to the hospital,
Yeah.
because that's a big money drain for them. So I'm sure we have that
I
data.
think that was one of the measures that we were looking at.
Yeah. Exactly.
I know that the hospital presented some data, and it was very impressive about, I think it was $750,000 saved in readmission costs or something like that over a year. So I think they have some data.
Yes.
Maybe, I wonder if they could share that with us, and maybe we can, get it, because apparently they are tracking it.
Yeah, it would be nice to get a summary
Yeah.
of the program and have them involved.
Yeah.
Say we would like more money to support the program.
Exactly.
On to GMT update. The first year has been sent to desk review at Oregon Health Authority, so they're getting through that. And we've already started working on the cost report for the second year of the GMT. The Station 10 remodel, that would be the quarters for Western Lane Ambulance. Northeast staff bathroom has been completed. They're very happy about that. They were down to one bathroom. They never stopped by here, but I said they could. The shower will be installed near the front bathroom soon. That's the training room. That'll conclude all the remodel update going on there. Herman Peak, the bane of my existence. There's some lightning rods and cameras that we're having some issues with. One of the lightning rods actually came down in one of the lightning storms that we had this year. So we had a tower climber come out and get us some estimates and kind of figure out what's going on with the tower. We got some future combined capital expense for upgrading repeaters coming soon. We've seen some numbers on that. We're just trying to get it together for the boards. Fire Recruit Academy, as you'll see, it starts in September on the report. That has since changed. We had a few people drop out, and we had the physical agility knock some people out of contention to be volunteers. So we moved the academy because everybody's scheduled work for it. It'll be a 2-week all-day academy. So they will essentially get the 2-week boot camp from Chief Dickerson. They'll probably all hate me when we get done, but that's okay. As you'll see after that, we just have the staff reports. If there's anything that you'd like to know about the staff reports, I'm willing to give that information.
You mentioned something about, I think you said 46 calls or something that were, I think they were joint responses.
Those are the joint responses for Charlie above medical calls. So difficulty breathing, chest pain, stroke, possible CPR in progress.
Do we have a trend on that? I mean, is that significantly higher than it was 2 to 3 years ago?
I have 2 months of data on it. As the fire department increases its call volume, we are also going on more medical calls, medical rescue calls. The trend from last year to this year, when we stood up medical response, last year we were at 47% EMS. We are now at 51% EMS on the fire side. So I would say that there's been an increase, but it's not a substantial increase.
Okay.
Our call volume, honestly, is shooting up, and it's not because of just medical calls. We've had a lot of other calls coming in. I can look back. I'm pretty sure that Matt has data, and I have enough data that we can look back and compare what calls we have been on, but we have increased our response because of the Charlie Delta Echo response.
Yeah, I wonder if the boards would be interested in trending, that as we co-join our operations, that would be really good to know.
Absolutely, I'd be more than happy to get that out.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Any other questions?
Just a comment. Kudos to the fire department. Tony Miller, as you probably know, I'm chairman of the City of Florence Planning Commission. We approved a project last night, and on Tony's recommendation, we included your new driveway requirements as a condition of approval.
Great.
Worked out as good.
Captain Miller is a rock star. He's doing great, and I can't give him enough praise. The community risk reduction for both sides of the house is something that we really focus on. I'm a strong supporter, and the Chief's a strong supporter.
I understand that Tony went to Eugene yesterday or the day before to talk with them because they were interested in the ordinances that we had come up with here about the driveways and clearance and all that, and they want to
The state fire marshal actually read our driveway ordinance and liked it very much. And a lot of the Highway 58 corridor departments, Pleasant Hill, Goshen, Lowell, were looking to do something. And so Cap Miller, in like his second year of being a fire prevention officer, is now getting his ordinance adopted by other places. So
pretty good.
And as we look at new vehicles, I'm more of a Chevy guy. The new mid-mount Corvette would be great for an operations vehicle.
Very good.
Maybe you could pass on, if it's appropriate for both boards, our thanks for his work.
Absolutely.
It's great. Yes, you want to do
My
the
turn.
office manager report?
Okay.
Your turn.
So Safer Grant, Chief Dickerson and I have been working on that, and we had it revised yesterday. We had it submitted. The new number is $80,976. We had to trim it down a little bit because we're only allowed X amount of dollars per year for the gear. But I believe we have accommodated all of her requests in the documentation, so fingers crossed that will go through. On the IT end of things, I'm still waiting for quotes for the Wi-Fi upgrades. Is everybody's iPad working okay?
Yes.
Here?
Always working on
Okay. Also working on the RFQ for the IT services that I've been meaning to get out has turned from a 3-page RFQ document to an 18-page RFP document at the advice of one of the IT proposers. And it's basically because we're not asking just for quotes, we're asking for scope of services, and there's just a lot that goes into the IT. So I'm working with some IT people because I'm not an IT person to be able to be knowledgeable about what all those scope of services mean. So it's just taking a little bit more time, but we will get that done and get it out. I wanted to ask how the directors are doing with the district emails. Are you getting them? Are you checking them? Everything okay? Working?
I don't check mine frequently, but
All
if
right.
I could set it up on my phone, I would. I can't quite figure that one out.
If you have any requests like that, forward them to me, send me an email, and I will try to get.
I have too many email accounts and this one gets turned off.
I see. That said, the onboard software, I believe, is still being set up to connected to your personal emails. We are going to get that switched over this month to the district emails. So that should be, so when you get a notice for the onboard meeting packets, that will be now from here on out on your district email.
I know that occasionally I get an email in my Western Lane ambulance inbox, and it's got a title, but there's no detail in the verbiage of the.
So it's got a subject but no content?
And it's got like tap to download meeting ICS, and there's nothing I can do with that. I can't open it or see it.
Oh, so that's probably a meeting request or a calendar
But I
invite.
can't tell what it is or when it is. So if there's some way to put that in terms of text within the body of the email, that would be helpful. I've got an example right here on my phone. I got the IGA committee meeting, and it has all of the warnings about external sender may contain confidential or privileged information, and then tap to download and it just simply won't open. So
Okay, all right.
That is a software issue. That's us using the Windows 10 Outlook system, and a lot of your phones, if you're not set up on Outlook for your phone, it's just going to show up as a gobbledygook. To put it simply, your calendar just doesn't pick it up, so you have to kind of transfer that over to your personal calendar. It's more technical than I can do. So, but that's why you're getting that information.
yeah, I don't mind putting it in my calendar, but I need a normal email that just tells me what's in the invite.
I can address that with our
Yeah,
staff.
thanks.
Are we switching over, are we required, to switch our email when we get our packets to this? Or can we opt to continue receiving the way we receive them now, like through the email account we currently have? Or is it something we just have to?
Well, I think everybody needs to agree on how we're doing this because it's getting a little confusing on the staff end of it. Some are doing personal, some are doing district. We kind of want to make sure it's all personal or all district. So we as staff are on the same page. So if you have an issue with it being on the district email, maybe we can address that as a group.
It's not really an issue, it's just I have 2 or 3 different accounts. There's one that I check constantly, and then the other one not so much, and then the district one, probably not at all. So, but if that's the way we need to go, then I'll just make sure that I'm better about checking the district.
Too bad I can't get a little reward to pop out whenever you check your district email.
And like this here, the only thing I've ever got on board for this email is the agenda, nothing else from anybody.
So you don't get the packet?
Oh, I get, that's the agenda or the packet,
Okay.
but never an email, never a note, never anything.
So you don't get an email on your district email. I'm wondering if that's because right now you are not on one of the subcommittees and that's been some of the more frequent communication you've been using.
We can fix that.
We can fix that.
Yeah, we can fix that.
Are you sending?
Well, no, there was a subject came up tonight.
Yeah, sometimes.
There was a subject came up tonight that Chief Schick sent out emails to everybody. Something was said. I never saw anything. But maybe were you sending out to committees or just to the board members?
I typically just pick in the address book, SVFR board.
Okay. Now, say if you sent something to the SV or the fire board, never saw it.
Did you see that thing about healthcare?
Nope.
We'll have to see what address, your
I'm
address
not
is
on
in
the
there.
committee.
No, that was to the entire board. We'll have to see what's.
Okay, we may do some tests just to make sure that everybody's.
Because I tried to respond to Ms. Dillon, related, thought I was going to be here tonight, never picked up, never replied.
Well, I would personally like to see us be able to use our email preference. So unless we're required to use the Western Lane Avenues.
You are not required, you are encouraged for your personal protection.
So it's a liability thing.
Go ahead.
And to protect both departments, attorney was prefer that we use the public entity email because of records request. Everything you own is going to go through if we ever do a public records request. Every one of your personal emails will be gone through. It's just best if we can all get these to work on under the entities emails.
I think these things, what you gave us is fantastic. I just need to make a point to every day, turn around and start it up and check any email, and nothing comes through
Right.
other than the packet.
Okay.
If you turn underneath your doc pad or your
Tab.
monkey, that is not there.
Okay, we may do some tests next week, just to make sure everybody's getting it and make sure that it's set up correctly on our end.
And Chief Chick, I did not get the email about the healthcare issue. Last email I got was
I
for
didn't find it.
passageways was on board. But that's my last email.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I brought it up. We'll keep working on getting this fine-tuned. Moving on. A lot of my work this month has been setting up the authority. We have a federal EIN number. Today I got the state EIN number. I've been working with the WHA and special districts for getting the property liability crime set up, insurance policy. Looks like that right now is coming in at just under 5,000. Workers' comp is coming in right around 2,000. And that will eventually, since workers' comp is based on payroll estimates, we do projections and estimates to establish what the rates are, but then we follow up the following year with the actuals. So once the actuals come in, adjustments are made. So there will be an adjustment because we've got these employees coming out of SVFR and Western Lane. So when we show those actual projections or actual numbers next year, hopefully there will be some adjustments to the district's workers' comp to compensate for what we're paying on the authority. Set up a checking account where we've got credit cards in process. Polly's working on payroll, Mary's working on PERS. We've got the new QuickBooks set up. We just discussed the attorney earlier, and the logo. And that send up, just so you can see what we have chosen for a logo for the Western Lane Fire and EMS Authority.
Is this the same one that's at like on the tattoo?
That's going to be a requirement to be on the board.
And we've also registered the domain name for WLAD.org. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, or first off, are there any questions about the setup for the authority?
The logo really looks good, but I think we ought to put it in alphabetical order and put EMS on the left and fire on the right.
Great suggestion. Okay.
Put you in charge of that.
So the only other thing I wanted to mention is the upcoming, we've got October 24th set for the next board meeting, but November falls on Thanksgiving Day and December falls on December 26th. So just an FYI, if you want to talk about that this evening, we can talk about it next month. Just wanted to put it on everybody's radar to reschedule.
Why don't we just have our meeting at your house on Thanksgiving?
Okay, I won't be there.
No problem. Not a
So it
problem.
works, yeah?
Better yet.
Is meeting the prior Thursday, is that not enough time?
I think we can do it. I've been getting the systems design reports in earlier. And
21st of November?
so
19th, yeah, that's the 19th.
So November 21st is the third Thursday. I think we can make that work.
I can.
It's kind of-
How's that, people, can we tentatively?
Yeah.
And check?
Do you want to do the same thing for December?
That would be the 19th,
Okay,
if that's not too late.
we will do our best.
Okay,
So it'll be December 9th.
tentatively we'll do that. Great.
That's all I have.
Super. Good job.
first of all, did you guys have any questions about any of that?
No.
I'll email them.
And on my agenda, we are, yeah, so any director comments, anything about any stuff we've covered?
Or stuff that's not on the agenda, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I do have something that I wanted to bring up for all of us. About a month ago, I received our tax roll. And I was going through our tax roll, and I noticed on there that I'm paying tax to basically ODF. And even though I live in the fire district and I pay fire district taxes right away, I was like, well, what is this? Why are we having to pay for fire services? And so I, as a concerned citizen, I spoke with the chief about it. I said, I would like to contact ODF, not as a representative of the board, but private citizen to figure this out. And I did. I spoke with a very, very nice man. Actually, first I talked to the tax assessor's office, and they were like, oh, tough, you just have to pay. And I was like, well, wait a minute. What's it going for? What are we paying for here when we live in a fire district? And then I spoke with another person at the assessor's office, and she gave me a really good rundown of how this all came about and referred me to ODF, and I did. I spoke with a division chief over there who mentioned to me that he was here about 2.5 years ago and spoke here in this building about this tax. So, as he said, an assessment. And so I did a little bit more investigative work to try to figure what this is really going towards. And it's basically ODF is not being funded, in my opinion, as a concerned citizen. They are not being funded appropriately by the state of Oregon. So they have to make up their operational needs in the form of this assessment. So one of the assessments is for emergency services, and the other assessment is for patrol, which is like prevention stuff. He is a former California Department of Forestry employee. We kind of know some of the same people. He's offered to come and speak to us at a later date because there is some partnering that could be beneficial to the new fire authority, Western Lane, Fire EMS Authority, and ODF. And I think that some of this confusion can be clarified by he's going to send me these documents, which I'd like to present to the chief, to see if it would be okay to put on our website. So as concerned citizens, if they get their tax, they're going, why am I paying another fire tax? At least they could have some information.
So, as near as you can tell, legislatively, it's an appropriate tax. It was approved legislatively.
Apparently, Larry, and I'm waiting to see that document.
Okay.
Because as I was told, there was an assessment. And I said, is there a sunset on this assessment? And I believe if you live in the city limits of Florence, you should not be receiving this. However, he said that when they went over the tax roll, they found a lot of parcels that were excluded that should not have been. So I can't find anything going through the archives of Lane County and checking ODF's website. But he seems like a pretty good guy, and he said he would forward me that information.
Were you talking to Link?
Yes, good guy. Do you have anything that you can?
Well, that meeting he spoke at here got pretty verbal.
Okay.
I can't remember what prompted the meeting.
Probably somebody like me that called and complained.
Oh, it was,
Is that when it first started, maybe?
no, it had to do with a subdivision or land use or something. I don't remember why, but it was,
He did mention that about a land use issue.
yeah.
Because I had asked him, I said, so if we as members of our fire district, we pay the fire district for services, I said, what about those that are not in the district, but that you and your agency provide services for, but you're only here during declared fire season? What kind of where is their monetary refund back to the district taxpayers for our personnel and equipment that respond to your calls? And he said, that's a very good question.
And you know they have an office over there.
Yes, I do. And I believe it's closed now. Or will be in the next week or two. But that's all I have. And
We'll keep us in the loop.
yeah, definitely. I think that hopefully some changes can come about with this.
Any other comments?
No, sir.
Any comments from directors here?
Okay. Just a point of order following the adjournment of the meeting today. SVFR and Western Lane Ambulance Board Directors will meet in executive session per ORS 192.6602D to conduct deliberations with persons designated to carry on labor negotiations. Representatives of the news media and audience are asked to leave the room at this point. No final decisions will be made during the executive session. The board does not plan to return to open session later tonight. Being said,
We're ready to...
make a motion to adjourn.
Sure.
So moved.
Okay. Motion carried.
Ready?
1, 2, 3.
All right. Sure. So please hang around for the executive session.